Hi, my name is Davila, and today I'll be presenting my second lesson plan, which is on measurement and data. My standard is 1.md.A2, so it is a first grade lesson plan. The standard is measurement and data, and it's measure lengths indirectly and by iterating length units, which is expressing the length of an object as a whole number of length units by laying multiple copies of a shorter object end to end. Understand that the length measurement of an object is the number of same size units that span it with no gaps or overlaps. Some of the student learning objectives that I have set are that children will use non-standard units to measure objects and compare the lengths. Students will be able to effectively measure using non-standard units without gaps or overlaps. The time I have estimated for this lesson plan is 25 to 40 minutes. I just kind of set that flexibility just because you never really know how well students can understand the content, or if we will need to focus on it a little bit more if they're not quite understanding. Some of the materials I have set in place are objects from around the classroom of different lengths. That can be desk, notebook, calculator, books, crayons, markers, and length units, which that can be paper, pencils, pink erasers, paper clips, craft sticks, toothpicks, and I have little buckets just so we can put all of the length units in there and it's easier for the students to carry around. I have some vocab in place, and that is measurement, measuring tools, length, unit, standard units, non-standard units, gaps, and overlaps. So now we'll go into the lesson. We'll begin by having the whole class sitting in a group to have a whole class discussion, just to introduce what we'll be talking about and the activity, and just to see how much the students know before going into the activity. So I would just remind them that I will be asking some questions and that it is important for them to remain polite and raise their hands, and I will call on some of them. So I would ask questions like, what is measurement? What do you think measurement is? And depending on some of the answers that I get, that would really help guide me on where to go next. But I'm hoping I get answers just kind of like, oh, you can see how big something is. You can see how much of something you would need. And I measure with my mom and dad at home. From there, to continue the conversation, I would follow up with questions and just be like, how do you see how big something is? What is something that you need to measure out to see how much you need? What do you measure with your mom and dad at home? And just things like that to get their brain flowing and thinking. So if I think a student said something that is really important, I would have them restate it, or even ask another student to restate what was just said. So from there, I would continue to give them the definitions of what measurement and the measurement tools mean. And then from there, I would just kind of, introduce the fact that there is standard units, and that is how most things are measured, but that you can measure with non-standard units, which is what we would be doing today. So I would ask, like, what are things that we can measure and how? Just to kind of get them thinking that, we can measure different things, and it can be ourselves, it can be things in our classroom, or like bookshelves, just books, anything. So from there, I will explain that we need to have an accurate measurement, and in order to do that, we cannot have gaps or overlaps, and we must measure from end to end, just so we have an accurate measurement and we know exactly how big or small something is. I would just tell them that for the next part, we would we will be given the opportunity to go around and measure using non-standard units such as pink erasers, paper clips, toothpicks, paper, just anything. Um, so I would set them up with a partner, and from there I would pass out their little bucket with their supplies. Right now, since I'm at home, I don't have everything I would have liked to have, but I was able to find one paper clip, and obviously I would just give students, a couple for them to be able to measure in here. I have toothpicks. There's more in here. And then I have some little paper tabs that are all the same size. So from there, after I set them with their partners, I would pass out their little buckets, and I would tell them that we will be going around the classroom measuring different things, anything that they think they can measure, and just to keep in mind that we can't have gaps or overlaps. So from there, I would, let the students go around and measure all of their items, and I would be walking around just observing students and how well they're doing, or if they may need a little more redirecting, and just, depending on what I catch, like if I see a student having overlaps or just big gaps, I would just remind them like, oh, hey, like, remember, we can't have any gaps. Everything needs to be touching, and it needs to be from end to end. So from there, I would give them about 5 minutes, depending on how well they are doing, working with their partners. If they're messing around, I would just kind of redirect them back to a whole group, or if they're doing really well, I would give them a little bit of extra more time, a little bit of extra time. Sorry. So from there, after 5 minutes or so, I would give them a minute. I would just get their attention again and tell them that I will give them a minute to find their favorite item to measure with their partner, and that they will be able to share it with the whole class. And just remind them that, again, not everyone will be able to share, but some of us will. So from there, I would have, partners share their favorite item that they got to measure and how they measured it and what the measurement they got. And then maybe if time permits, I would just check their measurement, and then if it's not, if it may not be correct, I would just kind of have them show us exactly how they did it, and guide it back to a whole group discussion, and just kind of have the class help them out to have an accurate measurement. So from there, I would just move on and tell the class that I need their help with something, and this would be sort of just like our exit ticket. And I would just have the exit ticket and just be like, oh, I need your help finding the exact measurement. And it would just be like 3 different lines, and they'd all be different lengths. And if my question is, I need help finding the line that is 3 paper clips long, I would give them the paper clip and just give them time to go work on it and help find the line that is the 3 paper clips in length. So then from there, we would just, do our exit ticket and then move on to our next part of the lesson. So my assessing outcomes would be, the exit ticket, which would show me what each student was individually able to think of, and just see how their brain is working, to see if they were able to find the line that measures 3 paper clips. And then my downward extension would just kind of be having students work in small groups and just help them out with the measurement and like non-standard measuring. Just having them in small groups would allow me to give them that like one-on-one help and see exactly what they aren't understanding. But I have ran out of time, so that is my lesson plan. I hope you guys like it, and thank you.